Welcome to the Bluestocking Circle podcast, lady nerds on popular culture. We're your hosts, Bee
and Gricel.
This is Minisode 23.5, Follow-Up and First Impressions. I can't believe I forgot to mention this in the last episode's feminist rant, Gricel. Me of all people. I can only beg forgiveness and claim that I was blinded by love.
To be honest, I was wondering where this rant went.
I don't know where it went, but here it is now. The Mask of Zorro begins with a fridging and a dead mother. Two of my favorite things.
Are you still keeping track of how many we've gone through?
Well, we have 4, technically 5, in this movie alone.
Well, and if you count the book, it's a whole other...
We're in the double digits.
I see.
But yes, Esperanza in the movie The Mask of Zorro, who is Diego's wife, the first Zorro.
For like 5 minutes.
Yes, and also Elena's mother, she is killed off. So the whole movie is based on a fridging.
It is. And the, what was his name? The other guy. The one who steals the baby.
Montero.
Like, all of the motivations behind this story all center around wanting this woman. And she dies a horrible death because of it. So
she does, and
that.
He keeps a painting of her in his office.
He's creepy in general.
But on the other hand, I also forgot to mention that Elena has her own subplot the entire movie that is completely independent from that of Alejandro, although their plots do merge at the end. Her storyline is a search for her true parentage, and it has nothing to do with him, which makes her an atypical love interest in the good way, in that her plot can be separated from that of the hero.
That is true, and I suppose that is also, in its very mildest form, a saving grace for the sequel. But we'll talk about that
Let's talk
in a
about
moment.
it. You've seen it, even though I want you not to.
I have seen it. I couldn't resist, as I said. It had Rufus Sewell in it, and I was intrigued, so I decided to watch it. It was interesting. It took a turn that I did not expect. Mostly, it relied on some weird physical humor that I was not expecting when I first started watching it, especially based on the other one, because the other one had its moments, the lust in particular, and like stuff like that, where it relied on a little bit of zaniness, I suppose, but not entirely. You know, Alejandro has his moments where he's comical, but it's not a movie that is supposed to make you laugh, I don't think. I don't consider it to be humorous.
It's comic, but it's not a comedy.
Exactly. So I feel like the second movie, the sequel, tried to be a bit more comedic overall. And there were some moments in the beginning where I almost felt like I was watching an old Looney Tunes show.
Yes, the tone is much more juvenile and
It
cartoonish.
It is, yes. There's like literally a scene where a guy falls face first into a cactus. And he comes out with a face full of cactus needles. I don't know if that can happen in real life. I'm not going to test this theory, but it looked a lot like a cartoon character. I also found that overall the plot was really scattered. And I know this is one of the issues that you have with it, and after watching it, I was like, I see. Yes, indeed. So, the entire premise of the film hinges on Alejandro's identity being known by, like, a CIA-type organization, the Pinkertons, and they threaten Elena with revealing his identity, even though it's not really a big deal in the story. Like, why?
It's the same idea that Superman can't tell Lois Lane who he really is because it would put her in danger. Same idea that if the world knows who Zorro is, then his wife and son will be in danger. You just go with it as a foundation of superhero works.
Exactly, like it's just being presented as like a thing that is a problem in the story, which doesn't seem to have been a problem however long the kid has been born. Like, he's obviously been doing his thing all this time.
10 years.
10 years. That child looks way younger than 10 years. Just looks like he's 5. But 10 years apparently. So I don't understand why it's a big deal, but the whole premise hinges on that identity being threatened, and therefore Elena must divorce him and sneak into the good graces of the character that Rufus Sewell plays, who is maybe from Spain, maybe from France, maybe from some continent I have never heard of, because his accent never made sense, and that was the most distracting thing in this entire film for me, because I was like, where is he supposed to be from? I don't know.
He's meant to be French, but he went to finishing school with her, and she's Spanish.
But he doesn't sound French either.
Some people just can't pull off accents.
No, it's bad. It is maybe the worst fake accent I have ever heard in a film, and that's
Excuse me, I made you watch Mary Poppins.
Oh no, still really bad. I can deal with the bad, funny Bert Cockney accent. I don't know what was happening here. It was distracting to me because he was like trying to seduce her, and I'm just like, what is that voice? I don't understand what is going on. So it was pretty bad, but overall, the idea that they can't just be in cahoots and, you know, like have a plot that hinges on Elena and her husband getting up to no good and taking down this guy who's in the secret society that involves soap. I don't know why.
I agree with you. That's my main issue with the movie. If they had actually been working together the whole time, them against the world, I think it would have been that much better.
That's the only good part of the film is, I want to say, like, the last 20 minutes.
The train sequence is great.
The good train sequence. And that's the point at which they start working together.
Yes.
And it makes sense again. Also, getting a divorce in the late 1800s, really hard. It would not have happened so quickly. And she would have lost the kid because that was just the way that divorce laws and stuff worked at that time. The man would usually have control of the kid. So that didn't work for me either.
We've got bigger fish to fry. There's a scene in this movie, Gricel, where little Joaquin grabs his ruler and fences his teacher in the schoolroom.
He does. But then children ruin everything, so I wasn't too entertained by the child until the very end.
I have a fun fact for you.
Do you?
Might impress you about the child. He did not speak English. He learned all his dialogue phonetically.
His Spanish scenes were the best, so that makes sense to me.
I do love that scene where he and Alejandro are speaking in Spanish and have that heartfelt conversation in their birth language.
It was really good, especially when he's like, it's something like, la lengua de nuestros padres, or
Yes.
something like that he says, and the little boy's talking, and he's like, en español!
That's why I said it in the monologue
It was
last
really
time.
good.
The movie also actually goes into fairly stereotypical gender roles.
It does, yes.
Which is something the first movie circumvented, as we talked about, and then in the sequel, I don't know what happened. It's the same people in front of the camera, it's the same director. I have no idea what happened in the intervening 7 years to make this movie turn out like it did.
And that was also one of my problems. I couldn't believe Elena's character had taken such a turn. I guess the implication is pregnancy changes your personality? Like, I don't know. Because suddenly she's a wife and a mother. Her entire worldview has changed.
I understand that her priorities have changed. That's definitely understandable.
That would make sense, yes.
But her personality seemed to change as well. And as you say, it wasn't consistent with her character from the first movie.
It wasn't, no.
Even if 10 years had passed and she had a son now, it was too much of a change for the character, I think.
Especially given that at the end of the other movie, you kind of had the impression that they would work together to fight for justice. So what happened?
What happened indeed? I think that can be the tagline for the sequel, The Legend of Zorro. What happened?
So, going back to my children ruining everything thing, I also saw Toy Story 4, which I thought was a very good film and gave me all kinds of nostalgia feels because as I was watching this, I realized that I was in 5th grade when the first one came out. And that was a whole long time ago, which I felt very old as I was sitting in this movie. But Randy Newman made me cry. So there you go. Add that to the tally of Gricel has cried at movies.
I haven't seen it, and I think that's weird. Because I remember getting so excited about Toy Story 2 when I saw the trailer that I had a little countdown just like I have for Matilda the movie. And I remember being there day one to see Toy Story 3. And now Toy Story 4 comes out, it gets 100% on Rotten Tomatoes or just below that. And I still can't muster the will to drag myself to the movie theater to go see it. Am I out of my sensitive period, Gricel?
Maybe, but I, however, was not interested in watching it. And when I watched it, I was so happy with it that I wanted to watch it again.
Oh.
And that is not a thing that happens often. Like, even when I told the boy, I was like, I want to watch it all over again. He was like, what? You would come back and watch it again? I'm like, well, maybe not like at the movies because I'm cheap. But like, I would watch this as soon as it comes out again.
I'll probably watch it on DVD eventually. But I'm really tired of things not having an ending these days. So I can't say that my enthusiasm level is too high when I know that eventually there's going to be Toy Story 5 and 6 and 7. And it kind of feels like, what's the point? We're just going to drag this out for another century. So there's really no need to watch the next one.
I would say, no spoilers, that for at least one character there's an ending.
I've been spoiled. I know how it ends. But we thought that about Toy Story 3 as well. Toy Story 5, getting the gang back together. There's your plot right there.
I don't know, there's some distance that would need to be overcome.
See them in 2025. That has been your movie optimism and pessimism corner with Gricel and Bee.
Sounds about right. In our next episode, we will be traveling to a more genteel time as we join Cassandra Mortmain and her family in Dodie Smith's 1949 debut novel, I Capture the Castle, and the 2003 film adaptation of the same name starring Romola Garai. We will be joined once more by our guest from the Labyrinth episode, Kat. But first, Bee will tell us what she thinks this book and film are about.
It's about a castle that gets captured by someone. That is all I know about this book, the title. And I think I read once that it's J.K. Rowling's favorite book, or it was her favorite book at one point, isn't it?
Yes. I cannot vouch for that, but she does blurb it as her favorite book. I did make a face as you said your synopsis. Nothing else to add?
I know that Monica, our guest from the Matilda episode, read it a few weeks ago, and she said that I would not like it when she learned we were doing it for this episode because it's a kissing book.
I am of two minds with this one for you because I cannot predict whether you will like it or hate it. I would not call it a kissing book, but I don't want to give away too much, given that you have 0 impressions at this point. So I just want to wait and see what you think.
Am I going to have strong feelings about it, do you think, in one way or the other? Or is it going to be a meh?
I think you might just be a meh. I don't know that you would hate it entirely, because you have read works that are comparable to this.
Such as?
Jane Austen.
Oh, okay.
So if you like certain aspects of Jane Austen, I think you will like this. A lot of female readers, particularly, who enjoy Austen and works of that nature, or Bronte. There's a line in the book. You're either a Bronte girl or a Austen girl. It has elements of both and modernism. So you can go one of 2 ways on this, and I can't predict which one, so I am intrigued to see where you go.
I do like castles.
There is a castle.
There you go.
There is literally a castle. So that is not a euphemism. So fetch yourself a bar of chocolate and settle into the sunniest spot in the room as we journey to a ramshackle castle in 1930s England.
I do like chocolate too.
I know you do. Maybe there will be chocolate for the episode.
Ooh.
Episode 24, I Capture the Castle, will be released August 1st. In the meantime, you can find us at thebluestockingcircle.com and on Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, Pinterest, and pretty much everywhere at BlueSockCircle. That's Blue, S-O-X, Circle. Email us at thebluestockingcircle@gmail.com to join the conversation. We are also available on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, and YouTube, so please rate, review, and subscribe to help us grow.
Cheers!
In our next episode...
Do you want to try a British accent? See how you fare next to
Oh my god, I
Professor.
tried it at home, but we cannot do the whole thing. I will try. We will see.
English Gricel.
No.
How exciting.
That's what I was going to say.